now we magically have whisked ourselves away to 7904 India Avenue, Jacksonville, Florida, 32201. It is a home with a purchase price of $205,000, which is pretty reasonable for a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom home with a estimated lease of $1,300, 2 or 3 year lease for $1,300. We're looking at the picture here. If you're joining us in the future on the radio or you're joining us on the podcast, by the way, if you're joining us on the podcast, I love the appearance of folks that are, we're recently getting this inflow of folks that have been joining us on the podcast that are now joining us live. So if you're listening on the podcast, go to nyais.com. That's Not Your Average Investor Show, nyais.com. Register to show up live on Tuesdays or Thursdays and hang out with us. But for now, we're going to keep going into this property. The beauty of this thing is what JWB sells, which is that money-making asset. Then this one happens to have an estimated conventional financing total cash flow ROI of $134 and an estimated conventional financing total ROI of 8.16%. Let me know in the chat if you're seeing this clear. And GC, you let me know. What do you love about this property, GC?
I thought you'd never ask. You know what I love about this property is the same thing that I loved about last week's property in a slightly different form, right? This one is not a new construction home. This is a renovated home. And for all of those that were here last week, which almost all of you were, which is amazing, right? You heard me talk about how I love both new construction and renovated properties with one caveat. Right now, there is a significant advantage to investing in a renovated turnkey rental property. And that advantage lies in itself because of what's happening with interest rates. Interest rates are incredibly powerful when it comes to the return on investment, first year and second year and fifth year and 10th year and 30th year of you owning these properties. Because if you buy this property with smart debt, with conventional financing, you get the advantage of locking in your interest rate day one, and that interest rate stays the same for as long as you own that asset. It's one of the reasons why I love to buy and hold the asset. And one of the best things that can happen for you, especially in an inflationary time, is for you to buy an asset, get smart debt on it, and keep that debt for the long haul. All right. But what's going on right now, and the reason why I love a renovated property, and the main reason why I love this property so much, is because it's renovated. And renovations right now mean that you can buy this property, you can put it under contract to purchase and lock in your interest rate immediately. You remove interest rate risk. If you buy a new construction property, which I love, I have many of them in my portfolio. The problem with new construction properties compared to renovations right now is that you put it under contract today and you don't close for 4 to 6 months after, because that house has to finish being built. And when that happens, you can't lock your interest rate for maybe 2 to 4 or maybe 5 months from now. Well, in 2 to 4 or 5 months from now, I think, and most people think out there, that interest rates are going to go up because the loose monetary policy of the Fed is coming. Well, I'm not going to say it's going to come to an end, but I'm saying that it is not going to be as loose. It is tightening. What you're seeing and hearing and reading about is the Fed tapering. That means that they are reducing the amount of purchases of bonds and mortgage-backed securities. And while that might be some jumbo that we don't really want to think about because it kind of hurts our heads, just know that when the Fed tapers, that means that is going to have a direct impact on interest rates going up, because the Fed was basically contributing $120 billion of demand towards the products that determine what interest rates are. And when you take that away, that $120 billion a month of demand, you lose a significant amount of demand and the interest rate goes up because that's no longer there. Interest rates were artificially low for a long, long time. And so that's happening. That's the big news. Tapering is happening. They expect to reduce that to 0 by March, meaning that $120 billion a month now will be 0. And they've already signaled that they are planning to raise short-term interest rates 3 to 4 times in 2022. So what this means for all of us is that interest rates are going to go up. All right. And when interest rates go up, I love that we get to talk about this on the property of the week here on Thursday, because we get to look at the evaluation here. You know, Pablo, let's spend some time talking about what just maybe a 1% increase in your interest rate will do to your return on investment. And when you see that, hopefully that reinforces why I think there is an advantage to investing in a renovated property right now, or any property that you could just close on in the next 60 days. That's really what it is. New construction, you just typically can't do that right now.
Let's spend some time talking about that real quick. So anybody following along at home, if you're here in the chat, Joanna shared how you can download this property, direct link. But if you're following along at home, you can go to jwbinventory.com, download this property, and you can fudge with it the same way that I'm doing. Right now, I went from the summary tab to the analysis convention conv-fin tab is what it says here. That's the analysis by conventional financing.
French.
And analysis conv-fin. We're going to mess a little bit with the interest rate, right? Right now, it shows that the assumption is 25% down payment. Interest rate assumption is 4%. And, you know, as we had already established, there is this total ROI of 8.16. So GC, what do you want me to do here?
Well, let's take this bit by bit, right? Like, I don't think that interest rates are going to go up a full point in the next 4 months, right? Could they? Sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. What's more likely is that the Fed will raise their interest rates, and the cumulative effect will be, you know, 1/4 point to maybe 1/2 point increases in our interest rates for what is on our mortgages. So let's just say that we have the decision to buy a renovated home right now or a new construction home. And let's just say that the return on investment for both of those is about 8%, which is what it is. Let's bump that 4% interest rate to 4.5%.
So I'm putting in 4.5% here in the field, and it's going to go from 8.16 ROI to 6.81% ROI.
There you go. I mean, that's 1.5% on your property today, right? In the first year, times, for all of us that buy and hold, like I recommend here, times that over the number of years you're planning on holding, 10 or 20 years, right? All because you made a decision today to take advantage of low interest rates. That all signals. There has never been a time I've been more convinced that interest rates are going up over the next 6 to 12 months. You just choose that renovated property today, or any property you can close on today, you get 1.5 points better this year, times 10, times 20 years of holding. And that's why there is an inherent advantage today for renovated properties. And that's why, listen, I bring everything to you guys in full transparency. That's why I have been bringing renovated properties the last few weeks. When I started to bring renovated properties to you here on the property of the week, almost exclusively, it was when the Fed came out and said, we are aggressively reducing the amount of bond and mortgage-backed security purchases. And there, in my mind, I'm like, okay, how can I be the best resource for all of you? Let's focus on what we can close in the next 60 days. And there you see why.
You know, I hadn't put 2 and 2 together there, GC, but that makes a lot of sense.